Captain Vex stood in the cargo hold of his ship, the Dark Claw, watching his crew sort through their latest haul. The pirate vessel hummed with activity as aliens of different species worked to catalog their stolen goods. Vex was proud of this raid. They had hit a lone human transport ship in the Outer Rim, far from any military patrols. "Captain, look at all this valuable cargo," called out Nixer, a six-armed creature with purple skin. He held up containers filled with rare crystals that glowed with inner light. "These energy cores alone will make us rich for months." Vex nodded with satisfaction. His reptilian features showed a cruel smile as he walked between the stolen crates. Advanced human technology, medical supplies, and precious metals filled the hold. But something else caught his attention in the far corner. There, sitting on the cold metal floor, was a small human child. She could not be more than 8 years old. Her black hair hung in messy strands around her face, and her dark eyes were red from crying. She wore simple clothes that were now dirty and torn from the attack on her ship. "Iyama," the child whispered in a language none of them understood. "Appa, where are you?" Kor, Vex's second in command, walked over to examine the small prisoner. His green scales gleamed under the ship's lights as he poked the child with one clawed finger. She flinched away from his touch, but did not run. "What is this thing, Captain?" Kor asked, tilting his large head to study the human child. "It looks so weak and small. Is it some kind of pet that humans keep?" The other crew members gathered around to look at their unexpected prize. There was Grim, a hairy beast-like alien, with 4 eyes. Next to him stood Zara, a tall, blue-skinned female with sharp teeth. Even Pip, the smallest crew member who barely reached Vex's knee, came to see what they had found. "I think it's a young human," said Zara, her voice cold and calculating. "Humans are known to be soft creatures who cannot fight well. This small one must be completely helpless." Vex laughed, a harsh sound that echoed in the cargo hold. "Perfect. We can sell it at the Nexus station, along with the rest of our goods. Rich collectors always pay good money for exotic pets. This little thing will bring us extra profit." The child looked up at them with those dark eyes, not understanding their words, but clearly afraid. She pulled her knees up to her chest and made herself as small as possible in the corner. "Iyama," she said again, her voice barely a whisper. "I want to go home." "It makes noise," observed Grim, scratching his hairy chin. "Can we make it stop? The sound is annoying." "Don't damage the merchandise," Vex warned. "We need it in good condition to get the best price. Just throw it in one of the empty storage rooms. Give it some water and basic food to keep it alive." Kor reached down to grab the child, but she scrambled away from his claws. For such a small creature, she moved quickly. She pressed herself against the wall, looking around desperately for an escape route. "Catch it," ordered Vex, growing impatient. "We have other work to do." It took 3 crew members to corner the frightened child. She did not fight back with violence, but she was clever about avoiding their grabbing hands. Finally, Pip managed to catch her arm, and the others helped secure her. "Light as a feather," commented Zara as they lifted the child. "How do humans survive in space if they are so fragile? This one feels like it would break if we squeezed too hard." They carried the crying child to a small storage room near the engine compartments. The space was barely large enough for her to lie down, with only a thin blanket on the floor and a small water container. "Stay quiet in there," Kor told her as they sealed the door. "Make too much noise, and we might decide you are not worth keeping alive." Back in the cargo hold, the crew continued their work with high spirits. They joked about their easy victory over the human transport ship. "Did you see how quickly they surrendered?" laughed Nixer. "The humans barely tried to fight back. They just kept screaming about protecting their passengers." "Weak species," agreed Grim. "No wonder they stick to the safe trade routes. They probably cry when they see real warriors like us." Vex felt very pleased with himself. This raid had been perfectly planned and executed. They had struck fast, taken everything valuable, and escaped before any help could arrive. The human ship had sent out distress calls, but by the time anyone responded, the Dark Claw would be long gone. Set course for the Nexus station, he ordered his pilot. We have goods to sell and credits to earn. This has been a very profitable day. As the ship jumped into hyperspace, none of the pirates realized they had made the biggest mistake of their lives. In the storage room, the small human child continued to whisper for her parents, unaware that her disappearance would soon trigger events that would shake the entire galaxy. The crew celebrated their victory, completely ignorant of the storm that was about to fall upon them. 2 days had passed since the raid, and Captain Vex was starting to feel worried. He sat in his command chair, staring at the empty communication screen. Something was very wrong. All of his usual contacts in the criminal underworld had stopped talking to him. Still no response from the Nexus station, reported Core, his green scales looking pale with concern. The black market traders are not answering our calls either. Even the weapon dealers have gone quiet. Vex drummed his clawed fingers on the armrest of his chair. In 20 years of piracy, he had never seen anything like this. Usually, after a successful raid, buyers would compete to purchase their stolen goods. Now, it seemed like everyone in the galaxy was avoiding them. Keep trying, Vex ordered. Contact every fence, every trader, every black market dealer we know. Someone has to want what we are selling. The crew worked frantically at their communication stations, sending messages across the galaxy. But one by one, their contacts either ignored them completely or cut communication as soon as they learned who was calling. Finally, after hours of trying, a familiar blue face appeared on their main screen. It was Grix, an Alterian trader who had bought stolen goods from them many times before. But instead of his usual greedy smile, Grix looked terrified. "Vex, you absolute fool!" Grix shouted, his blue skin turning even paler. "Do you know what you have done? Do you have any idea what you have brought down on all of us?" "Calm down, Grix," Vex said, confused by his contact's panic. "We just hit a human transport ship. Nothing special about it. We have good cargo to sell, including some rare items that should interest your buyers." "Rare items?" Grix's laugh sounded hollow and frightened. "What kind of rare items are you talking about? We have energy crystals, advanced technology, medical supplies," Vex listed proudly. "And we also picked up a human child. Small thing, probably valuable to collectors who like exotic pets." The moment Vex mentioned the child, Grix's face went completely white. His hands started shaking, and he looked like he might be sick. "A human child," Grix whispered. "You took a human child." "Just one small creature," Core said, stepping into view of the camera. "It cannot be worth much, but every bit of profit helps." "What is wrong with you, Grix? You look like you have seen a ghost." "What can they do?" Grix repeated Core's earlier question. "What can they do?" "Let me tell you what humans do when someone takes their children." Grix leaned closer to the camera, his voice dropping to a terrified whisper. 15 years ago, a pirate crew called the Red Talons kidnapped one human baby from a colony ship. Just one baby, like you did. The humans spent the next 40 years hunting down every single member of that crew. Not just the captain or the ones who did the kidnapping. Everyone. The pilot, the cook, the mechanics, even crew members who had left the ship years before the crime. Vex felt a cold chill run down his spine, but he tried to stay calm. "That sounds like an old story. Maybe it is not even true." "Not true." Grix's voice rose to a shout. "I saw the records myself. The humans tracked them across the entire galaxy. They followed them through black holes, into hidden bases, even into neutral territory where no military was supposed to go. They never stopped hunting. They never gave up. They found every last one of them. The bridge of the Dark Claw had gone completely silent. Every crew member was listening to Grix's words with growing fear. But that is not the worst part, Grix continued. 20 years ago, pirates killed 3 human children during a raid on a research station. The humans did not just hunt the pirates. They destroyed the entire moon where the pirates had their base. They used weapons that turned rock into glass. Millions of criminals lived on that moon, and the humans killed them all. That cannot be legal, protested Nixer, his 6 arms trembling. There are galactic laws about that kind of destruction. Legal. Grix laughed bitterly. Who is going to stop them? Humans have the strongest military in the galaxy. They have allies everywhere, and when it comes to their children, they do not care about laws or treaties or anything else. They only care about getting their young ones back and making sure no one ever tries it again. In the storage room below, the human child sat quietly in her small prison. They had learned her name by listening to her whispered words. She called herself Minho, and she often spoke to herself in that strange human language. The child has been very quiet, reported Zara, who had been assigned to watch her. She just sits there and looks at us with those dark eyes. Sometimes, I think she understands more than we realize. Vex looked back at Grix on the screen. So what do we do? How do we get out of this situation? Get out. Grix shook his head sadly. There is no getting out. The moment you took that child, you signed your death warrant. And not just yours. Anyone who helps you, buys from you, or even talks to you, becomes a target too. That is why no one will answer your calls. That is why I should not even be talking to you right now. The communication screen went dark as Grix cut the connection. Leaving the pirates alone with their growing terror, the dark claw drifted through empty space, far from any trade routes or inhabited systems. Captain Vex had ordered his crew to stay hidden while they figured out their next move. But hiding became impossible when their communication array suddenly came alive with radio signals from across the galaxy. Captain, we are picking up military transmissions, called out Pip from his station at the communications console. His small hands worked frantically over the controls. These are not meant for us. We are just intercepting them by accident. Put them on the main speakers, Vex ordered. He had a bad feeling about what they might hear, but he needed to know what was happening in the galaxy. The bridge filled with cold, professional voices speaking in crisp human military language. The entire crew gathered around to listen, their faces showing growing fear as the words became clear. Operation Safeguard is now active, came the first transmission. Admiral Park has been given full command authority. All fleet commanders report to battle stations immediately. Vex felt his heart stop beating for a moment. Admiral Park. The name meant something, but he could not remember what. Third Fleet has completed hyperspace jump to Sector 7, another voice reported. 7th Fleet is moving to intercept possible escape routes through the Outer Rim. 12th Fleet is establishing blockade positions around all known pirate havens. 3 fleets. Kor whispered, his green scales turning pale, white. They have deployed 3 entire fleets. The transmissions continued without pause. Target confirmed as civilian Minho Park, age 8, daughter of Admiral Park. Recovery mission has unlimited authorization. Repeat, unlimited authorization. All commanders are cleared to use any means necessary. Vex felt his blood turn to ice water in his veins. 3 full fleets for 1 small child, he said, his voice barely a whisper. This cannot be real. But the radio signals kept coming, each one more terrifying than the last. The humans were not just sending their military. They were calling in favors from across the galaxy. Allied response protocol is now in effect, announced a new voice. All friendly governments and organizations are requested to provide assistance. Earth Command is offering significant rewards for information leading to target recovery. Sir Nix said, his 6 arms shaking with fear. They are talking to everyone, not just human allies. They are contacting species that have been at war with humans in the past. The communications officer continued his report. The Zentari Republic has pledged their border patrol ships to search their territory. The Clorvian Empire is providing sensor data from their deep space stations. Even the Morgoth Syndicate has agreed to cooperate. Zara looked confused. The Morgoth Syndicate fought a war with humans just 5 years ago. Why would they help now? Because humans have something everyone wants, Grimm said quietly. They have the best technology, the strongest economy, and the longest memories in the galaxy. No one wants to be on their bad side when they are this angry. More transmissions filled the air. Intelligence reports, fleet movements, search patterns. The humans were organizing the largest manhunt in galactic history. They were checking every ship, every station, every hidden base where pirates might go to ground. Captain, Kor whispered, his voice full of terror. They are not just hunting us. Listen to what they are saying. The radio crackled with a new message. All individuals and organizations who have aided, supplied, or sheltered the perpetrators will be considered hostile. This includes anyone who purchased stolen goods, provided safe harbor, or failed to report knowledge of their location. Vex realized what this meant. They are going after everyone who ever helped us. Every fence who bought our stolen goods. Every station that let us dock. Every criminal who ever shared information with us. That explains why no one will talk to us, said Pip. We are not just wanted criminals anymore. We are a plague that spreads to anyone who gets near us. The most terrifying transmission came next. Priority message from Earth Command. Admiral Park has personal authorization from the Human Council. Quote, find my daughter. No limits, no exceptions, no mercy. End quote. At that moment, a small voice spoke from behind them. The entire crew turned to see little Minho standing in the doorway of the bridge. Somehow, she had gotten out of her locked storage room. She looked tiny and fragile in her dirty clothes, but her dark eyes showed intelligence far beyond her 8 years. My father is Admiral Park, she said in perfect standard galactic, the common language used throughout the galaxy. Her pronunciation was clear and careful, like she had been practicing. You should let me go home now. The bridge fell completely silent. No one moved. No one even breathed. You can speak our language? Vex asked, his voice shaking. I have been listening to you. For 3 days, Minho replied calmly. I learn languages quickly. My father taught me that knowing how to communicate can save your life. Kor stared at the small human child. Your father is the Admiral Park, the one commanding the fleets that are hunting us. Yes, Minho said simply. He is very good at his job. He always finds what he is looking for. And right now, he is looking for me. The radio transmissions continued in the background, describing search patterns and fleet movements. But all Vex could hear was the sound of his own heartbeat and the quiet confidence in the voice of the 8-year-old girl, who had just revealed that she was the most important person in the galaxy. The dark claw shuddered as it dropped out of hyperspace near a small asteroid field. This was their 6th jump in as many days, and Captain Vex was running out of places to hide. Every system they entered seemed to already have human ships waiting for them, forcing them to jump away before they could even refuel properly. Captain, our fuel reserves are down to 30%, reported Nixer from his engineering station. His 6 arms moved frantically over the control panels, trying to squeeze every bit of efficiency from their failing systems. We cannot keep jumping like this much longer. Vex stood in his ready room, staring at the holographic star charts floating in front of him. Red markers showed where human fleets had been spotted. Yellow markers indicated systems where their former allies had turned against them. Green markers, showing safe harbors, had almost completely disappeared from the map. How are they doing this? Vex demanded, slamming his fist on the table. How are they always one step ahead of us? We change course randomly. We use hidden jump routes that only pirates know about. But they are always there, waiting. Kor entered the room, his reptilian face showing the strain of their desperate flight. His green scales had turned pale, and his hands shook as he delivered his report. "Captain, I have been researching human technology," Kor said, his voice trembling. "I found something terrible. Humans have something called bio-quantum trackers. They are woven directly into human DNA itself. Every human child carries them from birth." Vex felt his heart sink. "You mean we have been carrying a tracking device this whole time?" "Worse than that," Kor continued. "These trackers work on a quantum level. They can track location, vital signs, even emotional state, across unlimited distances. Space, time, even different dimensions cannot block the signal. The moment we took that child, the humans knew exactly where we were, so we never had a chance," Vex said quietly. "From the very beginning, we were doomed." The news spread quickly through the ship, and the crew began to panic. Arguments broke out in the corridors and common areas. Some crew members wanted to surrender immediately and hope for mercy. Others suggested more desperate measures. "We should space the child," growled Grim during an emergency crew meeting. "Get rid of the tracker and run to the galactic core. Maybe we can hide in the unexplored systems." "That will not work," argued Zara. "The humans will hunt us forever if we kill their child. At least if we keep her alive, we might be able to negotiate." "Negotiate?" Pip laughed bitterly. "You heard. The transmissions. They said no mercy. There will be no negotiation." The arguments went on for hours, but Vex knew the truth. Both options meant death. Surrender meant execution, or life in prison. Killing the child meant the humans would never stop hunting them. There was no way out. Meanwhile, something strange was happening with their prisoner. Little Minnow had somehow convinced two of the younger crew members to spend time with her. Vex found them in the cargo hold, sitting on the floor and playing simple word games. "What are you doing?" Vex demanded. "She asked us to teach her our languages," explained Rico, a small furry alien who worked in the engine room. "She learns very fast. She already knows basic Centauri and Clorvian words. And she taught us some human games," added Torx, a blue-skinned mechanic. "Simple things, but they help pass the time." Vex stared at the scene in disbelief. Here was their prisoner, a child they had kidnapped and threatened to sell, calmly learning from her captors and teaching them in return. She showed no fear, no panic, no desperation. Instead, she watched everything with those dark, intelligent eyes. "Why are you not afraid?" Vex asked her directly. Minho looked up at him with a slight smile. "My Iyama says that scared people make bad choices," she replied in her careful standard galactic. "You look very scared, Captain Vex." The way she said his name sent a chill down his spine. She spoke like an adult, with confidence and calculation that seemed impossible for an 8-child. "Your mother taught you many things," Vex said. "Yes," Minho nodded. "She taught me that understanding people helps you survive. She also taught me that humans are very good at making friends and very dangerous as enemies." Vex realized that even as their prisoner, this child was studying them, learning their languages, understanding their fears, mapping their weaknesses. It reminded him of stories he had heard about human diplomats who could negotiate peace treaties that somehow gave humans everything they wanted, or human generals who won wars before the first shot was fired. "How old did you say she was?" Kor whispered. 8 years old, Vex replied, but he was starting to doubt it. This child acted like she had decades of experience in dealing with dangerous situations. The ship's alarms suddenly blared, interrupting their conversation. "Captain, to the bridge," came Pip's panicked voice over the intercom. "Human ships have found us again." As Vex ran toward the bridge, he heard Minho's calm voice behind him. "You should surrender now, Captain. My father does not like it when people run from him." The hunt was closing in, and their 8-year-old prisoner was giving them advice with the confidence of a military strategist. The dark claw drifted silently through the Kepler 442 system, hidden among the floating rocks, and metal debris of a long-dead world. Captain Vex had chosen this place carefully. The system had been abandoned for centuries after its star died, leaving only cold asteroids and the wreckage of old mining stations. "This is perfect," Vex said, studying the sensor readings from his command chair. "All this metal and rock will hide our ship's signature. The humans will never find us here." His crew worked quietly at their stations, afraid to make any noise that might give away their position. They had been running for 8 days now, jumping from system to system, always staying one step ahead of the human fleets that hunted them. "How long do we wait here?" asked Kor, his voice barely a whisper. "As long as it takes," Vex replied. "Eventually, they will give up and look somewhere else. Then we can slip away to the outer rim and disappear forever." But even as he spoke those words, Vex felt doubt creeping into his mind. The humans had never given up before. Every story, every legend about their persistence, suggested they would keep hunting until they found what they were looking for. In the cargo hold below, Minho sat calmly in her small prison, playing a simple card game that Rico had taught her. She seemed completely relaxed, as if she was waiting for something she knew would happen soon. Minho called Zara, who was assigned to watch her. "Are you not worried about being so far from home?" The 8-year-old girl looked up with those dark, intelligent eyes. "My Appa always finds what he is looking for," she said simply. "He found my lost toy when I was 5. He found my Iyama when she got lost in a space station. He will find me, too." Zara felt a chill at the child's calm confidence. There was something unsettling about how certain Minho seemed about her rescue. On the bridge, Pip suddenly looked up from his sensor station. "Captain, I am picking up something strange. The asteroids around us are moving in an unusual pattern." Vex frowned and walked over to look at the display. The rocks and debris that had been floating randomly around their ship were now forming into organized lines, almost like they were being pushed into position by invisible forces. "That is not natural," Kor observed. "Asteroids do not move like that on their own." Then, without any warning, space around them exploded into light. Massive human warships materialized from hyperspace in perfect formation, surrounding the dark claw from every direction. The pirates had been so focused on hiding from sensors that they had not noticed the humans moving asteroids to mark their exact position. "How?" Vex gasped, staring at the overwhelming display of military power around his small pirate ship. The answer came immediately. The asteroids had not been moved by accident. Human engineers had been working for days, using tiny robot probes to slowly push rocks and debris into a perfect trap. When the Dark Claw had chosen this hiding spot, they had flown directly into a carefully prepared cage. Before Vex could even order his crew to fight or flee, precise energy beams struck their ship, but these were not weapons meant to destroy. They were surgical strikes that disabled the engines, cut power to the weapons, and left the life support systems completely untouched. "This is Admiral Park of the Earth Defense Force," came a calm, controlled voice over their communication system. "You have something that belongs to me." The voice was not angry or threatening. It was quiet and professional, like a teacher explaining a simple fact. But something about that calmness was more terrifying than any shouted threats could have been. "We surrender." Vex shouted into his communication device. "We give up. Do not destroy us." "No one will be destroyed," Admiral Park replied. "Prepare to be boarded." What happened next was like watching a perfectly choreographed dance. Human Marines in advanced armor cut through the Dark Claw's hull with tools that sliced metal like soft butter. They moved through the ship with impossible speed and precision, knowing exactly where to go and what to do. Not a single shot was fired. The pirates were so shocked by the speed and efficiency of the operation that most of them simply stood still and allowed themselves to be captured. Within minutes, every crew member was secured in quantum restraints that made movement impossible. Vex found himself on his knees in the cargo hold, watching as a tall human man in a military uniform walked calmly toward Minho's small prison. This had to be Admiral Park. He moved with quiet authority, and his dark eyes showed both relief and controlled anger. "Appa!" Minho cried out in joy as her father unlocked her cell. She ran into his arms, and for a moment, the stern military commander became just a father holding his daughter. "I knew you would come," she said, hugging him tightly. "I was not scared at all." "I know, little star," Admiral Park whispered, his voice breaking slightly with emotion. "You are braver than most of the soldiers in my fleet." As human security, officers led the captured pirates away. Vex heard Minho ask her father a question that made his blood freeze. "Appa, why did they look so afraid when they learned your name?" Admiral Park's answer was quiet, but every alien prisoner heard it clearly, because they finally understood that in this galaxy, there are lines you never cross. And they crossed the most important one. They touched our children. The Dark Claw was taken under tow by the human fleet, and its crew faced a future of trials and imprisonment. But the real message had already been sent across the galaxy. Humanity's children were protected by forces that would never stop, never give up, and never show mercy to those who threatened them.